name is Martin. Welcome to a new WeaselWood project. Today we are starting with part 1 of a little series where we're going to make a few tweaks and changes to my little shop here. In today's part 1 we are going to make a storage room in this corner of the shop. I already bought the materials for it. We are going to make the framework for the walls today and plank it with some OSBs. Also, I'm going to start to clean up a little bit and put away a bit of this junk, and then let's get started. So, everything's cleaned up now. Let's get started and make a mess again. The first what we are making is to start with the framework for the walls for the storage room here. My plan is to make a wall from beside the bench over there, straight forward to the pillar, and then with about 20 or 30 degrees over to this wall, with the doorway in the middle. So, I already have my material here that I think I will need for this. Or maybe a bit more than I need, but whatever. Now I get started to set up my capex, and we'll see what we'll come up with. First I mark the inner edge of the framework on the floor by measuring it parallel to the outer walls. Then I use some nails and the chalk line to get a straight layout for the walls. As the markings were finished, I took the length and the angle of the first beam on the floor. I used my sliding bevel to transfer the angle to the miter saw and made the first cut. Then I marked the middle of the second wall and the width of the door so I could measure the length of the two beams. After the two beams were cut and laid out, you can already guess the size of the room and the door. Looking good so far. The room should be sufficient for my shop. Next we had to solve a problem with the lights. The cable between the two lamps was exactly where the wall should be. But I have to move the lamp inside the storage room anyway, so I decided to just demount it for now. Now on to the first vertical beam. First I cut it to length and test fitted it. The wall is at an angle of about 30 degrees, so I had to cut a wedge out of the beam to fit it to the corner. So I set my saw to that angle and pushed the beam along the rib fence. The wedge we cut out is enough and the angle merged with the lower beam. I wanted the wall to be decoupled from the floor, so I decided to put some footstep sound insulation between the floor and the lower beams. 2 layers of the stuff should be sufficient. I stapled it on and cut around. Then I started to screw the frame together with some nice and rigid 6 by 160 mm screws. The first element to install was the one on the angled wall, so I mounted it aligned with the layout to the floorboards. Then I cut the upper beam for this wall and temporarily fixed it with a monopod to measure the other vertical beams. I put the vertical beams in and screwed them to the lower beams. You can already recognize the doorway. I also cut the wedge out of the beam at the corner. Then I started to screw the vertical beams to the upper beam. Always keep the vertical beams parallel. Measure twice, screw once. That sounds wrong. I cut the beam to serve as a door lintel and mounted it to the appropriate height. Before I anchored it in the concrete, I checked the upright position with my bubble level. Then I drilled a 10mm hole through the beam into the concrete and used some frame dowels with screws to mount it. So, the first wall is done. Now we turn to start and begin with the second one. So, that was part 1 of the series. It worked out pretty well. We got the framework done for our storage room. The next step is to make the planking on the outside with the OSBs. I also have to move my drill press on the workbench because it's gone in the way with the planks. That's another project in the future. We have to rearrange the whole workbench. I want to make some doors underneath for all my tools and stuff, all this kind of crap that lies around on the bench. But as I mentioned, this will gonna be a future project. So that's for today. I hope you liked this video. Thank you for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you like the video. Subscribe me if you want to support me. And have a nice day.